You got the cool hat on today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, well, we're referring to everybody. Welcome to the Tech Wrench. We are also streaming live on Blab.
Woo!
So if you go to blab.im, you can actually watch our shenanigans.
Blab.im?
Blab.im.
Yeah, that confuses me.
Yes. Well, it's not they ran out of .coms.
Oh, did they?
Well, I shouldn't say they ran out of them, but
we got to figure eventually they would.
It's difficult to get a Word.com anymore. You know,
what about
a
.net or a .edu or whatever?
They're all still available. You just got to be creative when you bring something up. You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to be talking about social media today. Your tips and tricks on how to make Facebook, Twitter, all just hum the way you like. We're going to be talking a little bit about the connected house, your connected business. You know, a lot of people think about the internet just being on your computer.
Yeah.
But that's not the case anymore. So we're going to get into that a little bit as well. I'm going to go over some of the things I saw at C.E.S. Haven't had a chance to do that in the last couple weeks because we've been so busy covering everything else to do with C.E.S. that we didn't actually even talk about the cool things that I've seen there. So we'll get into that a little bit as well. So how was your weekend there, Mr. Producer Extraordinaire?
Well, not too shabby there, Mr. Host guy, person, whatever. I caught up on my sleep, which is what I usually do.
You usually do that, yes.
I went out running around, had some errands to run on Saturday.
Cool.
What a nice day.
It was beautiful.
Great day.
It was absolutely a wonderful week.
I actually had a decent day on Saturday. Sunday wasn't
bad either. We got that little bit of snowish thing going on in the evening.
That gray kind of day. At least it wasn't bleak. It's not as bleak as it was about a week ago.
I agree. So things are getting better. The East Coast, of course, is digging out from the big storm. Heard over 40 inches of snow in some spots.
Yeah, a lot.
So
a lot of snow. We had a busload of kids who from University of Mary and the local diocese. They went to D.C. for some event, and coming back, they actually got stuck on the Pennsy Turnpike. It's not a joke. They got stuck on the Pennsy Turnpike for about 20 hours.
Oh, wow.
But apparently everybody's fine. They're all in good spirits. They're on their way back.
There was quite a few people that got caught out in it,
yeah.
And they couldn't get to them I mean, it happens out here occasionally as well, but it makes big news when it happens on the eastern part of the country.
Well, generally, Pennsylvania is one of those places where they really have it together as far as dealing with the snow issues.
Okay.
At least that's always been my experience.
Sure. So, very cool. So, anyway, like I said, we're going to get into the connected house a little bit, connected business. So, you know, yesterday, I got our family got a remote vacuum cleaner over Christmas.
Remote vacuum cleaner.
You know, they just vacuum on their own. You got to kind of set them up and do it.
That's not one of those little flying saucer things.
Yes.
Just kind of, okay.
Yeah, and I have to tell you that I'm actually enjoying having this thing running around the house.
Yeah.
It works pretty slick.
Now, do you have any pets?
No pets.
Oh, okay.
But I could see where a cat or a dog would go crazy. In fact, I've seen some video coverage of the cat sitting on top of the thing as it's rolling around the house.
Yeah, there's one of those.
And that type of thing. But it does work very well, and it cleans very well. The one thing I'm really surprised about is I'm dumping the waste receptacle on it all the time. You know, after about every 2 times it runs, it's pretty full. So,
well, we have 2 cats, so we have all that cat hair laying around.
I think it would be great for that too. So I'm impressed, and I watched it. I thought it was going to go over the stairs the first time because it kind of scopes out the room and checks this thing out. But it worked pretty good. So I'm going to give that kind of my thumbs up as far as the product goes. It's convenient, and it certainly keeps your house cleaner because you don't have to worry about vacuuming it.
How good is it at getting into corners? Because the thing is round.
Well, it's round on one side and square on the other.
Oh.
So when it gets into a corner, it backs up, goes into it, backs up, goes into it. It just keeps doing this until it gets it cleaned off, and then it backs up and goes down the edge.
That is positively neato torpedo.
It's as stupid as this sounds, it's actually fun to watch the darn thing work.
Sure.
You know, I'm sure in another couple of weeks I'll get used to it, and I won't think. But I'm actually thinking about putting them in at the office now.
Okay.
Because I just love how well this thing works at home. I think it would be great to have a robotic vacuum cleaner running around the office.
Yeah, it'd be very entertaining for customers coming in. People
I guess
coming
that's
in,
true too.
And it certainly fits right in with the spirit of the place.
Sure, exactly.
Like the Jetsons in there.
And the new series of these is now internet connected as well. So it'll actually, if you get a brand new one, it'll tell your phone that it's full. So you have to go empty it and that it's running if you want it to and things. So so it's pretty cool. There's actually one company that's coming out with one that's got a camera on it as well. So you can actually utilize it as a security device too.
I'm waiting for one like in the old Looney Tunes where the little hand actually comes out with the little dusk broom and actually sweeps it in there.
That would be a full-fledged... Yes, exactly. The housemaid itself. Yeah. So that's cool. Connected lighting is another thing. Have you seen any of this stuff yet?
The connected lighting?
Yeah, so the lights that you have in here right now in the studio, right?
We have track lighting.
Yes.
And we have fluorescent.
So these bulbs here that are in the track lighting could actually be a Hue light, Hue, by Philips, and there's a few others too. Yeah. But they're probably the most prominent ones right now.
Are they still in business, Philips?
Oh, yeah.
They're a Dutch company, right?
I'm not sure, actually.
I think they are.
Okay. But anyway, thinking of the Philips screwdriver all of a sudden when you said that.
No, I'm thinking Philips, the electronics people.
Yeah, they're absolutely still around. And anyway, they have these lights that are called Hue. They're pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But they have color-changing lights, and they're all run via the internet.
Are they cooler than these? I mean, these
They are pretty cool, yeah. So, and there's not as much noise in them either. So in a studio like ours here, you don't have to worry about the noise coming from the floor. Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, some places you get that with the lighting. You turn it on and start.
That's exactly right.
You get that hum.
You don't hear it yourself. You hear it through the sensitive electronic equipment you got in the room.
I remember the old days. When I was a little kid, we got a color TV. This would have been around 1966.
Okay.
And I was 10 years old. And I remember it screwed up listening to the radio in the house because all the stations we wanted to hear were AM stations at the time.
Sure.
There was no real FM. There was a couple of stations playing elevator music, and that was about it. But the AM stations, you turn them on. If the color TV was on, you turn on the AM and you hear this hum in the background. And that kind of messed things up.
Yep. Exactly. Well, what's cool about the connected lighting stuff, Jim, is that you can actually program it to do things. So if your phone rings and you're in a part of the house or maybe the garage that you don't have, you could the light bulb will actually flash, or it'll change a different color. Maybe it changes to blue to let you know that the phone is ringing, okay?
Yeah, because we kind of have that here. We have a light here.
Right.
Because we don't like a lot of extraneous noise for obvious reasons. So the phone rings here, we have a light that's supposed to work.
Right.
I say supposed to work.
So, if you have like an UMA or another VoIP phone system in your house, you can actually program it so that the lights will ring. If you get a voicemail, you can have your light bulb flash for that. If you have a tweet come in, and it could be that the voicemail is from you, Jim. I can actually program it so it's from you, and then the light will change blue, and I'll Jim left me a voicemail. So the light can tell you these different things. And, of course, you can set those lights so that if it's the Independence Day or whatever, you can have them change red, white, and blue or whatever.
Oh, very, very.
It's very cool. I have them on the outside of my house, actually. I'll take a picture and show it to you sometime.
Yeah.
After the break, everybody, we'll continue our conversation on the connected house. And after that, Miss Metaverse Katie Aquino will be joining us.
Right now, 28.
The home for ABC News at the top of the hour is Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank all of our listeners across the country and around the world who follow us on the Blueberry Network. We're on the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. We're on the Roku, Tuned In, Apple TV, blab.im, and we're waving to all of the people in Blabland right now, because if you want to see us, go to blab.im. You can actually see us streaming live on the show. Of course, if you're catching us afterwards, we're not streaming live anymore. So, but you can still always find us on Blab.
Land of Blab.
Land of Blab. blab.im. Really like to throw people over that way. And, of course, we have our own app, Radio Pup. So if you drive around the car and you want to catch a show on that, away from their listening area, you can always catch us there as well.
Yay!
Yeah, so cool. Talking a little bit about the connected home. At the bottom of the hour, Miss Metaverse Katie Aquino will be joining us. We'll be talking about the tips and tricks to social media, so you want to hang around for that. Connected home, we're talking about lighting at the break there. So have you ever thought that, Jim, that you would actually have lights that would be connected to the internet?
No.
And really, even if you
to
thought
be honest, it never occurred to me.
Right. Well, and the thing is about it is why? I mean, I think that's what most people wonder is why would I want my lights connected to the internet?
Well, yeah, you ever notice that so many of the great inventions that we've had in the last 50 years are things that we just never realized we needed them until we had them.
Right, right. And I think this is going to be true with all of the stuff in our connected home as we move forward. I mean, it's like your furnace being connected to the internet. Why would you really need that? But now as people get used to it, they have it on their smartphones, and as they're going home, the thermostat goes up because the phone knows what your GPS location is, and you tell your furnace that if I'm 10 minutes away from the house, or if it's 4:45 in the afternoon, I'm going to be home at 5:30, please kick it up to 68 or 70 degrees or whatever it is, and you leave it at 62 the rest of the day.
Well, that's why I think it takes a special kind of genius to come up with this stuff.
Yep,
seriously,
exactly.
Because it's easy to think of the things that people know they need.
Right.
But to think of the things that people don't even realize that their life would be so much easier with this thing than without it.
And you think about connected lighting. I think about my outside lights, for example, that I have on my house now, right? I can program them so that when I come around the block, my phone then communicates to my house and says, hey, I'm a block away, turn my lights on now.
Yeah.
So then I don't go up to a dark house as I'm driving in. You know, I can see what's going on at night or what have you. So there's a lot of cool things that are coming about. The other thing that I find interesting is that you're getting more and more things that are that are connected together into one device. So, for example, the printer. Think of 10 or 12 years ago when you just went out and bought an inkjet printer.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, they started coming out with fax machines built into them.
Yeah.
So you could get a printer and a fax machine. Then somebody had the bright idea, why don't we put a scanner on these things
used
too,
to be,
right?
you have one little room. Some people, I guess some people still have that. They have a little room, and if their equipment is kind of dated, they'll have the big printer.
Right.
And they'll have a fax machine next to it, and they'll have something else next to that.
That's right. You know, so now you have all these all-in-one devices, right? Well, what I find interesting is because of LED technology and light bulbs, they're starting to put speakers inside of these things. So I have a couple of these coming in, by the way, and you can actually have a speaker built into the light bulb that is connected to the internet.
Oh, you can listen to some tunes while you're
you can listen to this show
Yeah.
out in the garage now. You wouldn't have to take a radio out to your garage anymore to listen to whatever. You can just have it Wi-Fi'd right in and listen to whatever you want to.
You can have it do a lot of things. You know, I know, give you a kidney transplant. Who knows?
You think about that possibility.
Yeah, little hands come out. Again, I'm thinking Looney Tunes. Do. Little hands come out with the scalpel.
Right. That's right. So anyway, and like I said, we're going to get into a little bit about social media in a little bit, but they have a lot of things built into social media as well with a program called IFFT, IFFFT, If This Then That, I think is what it stands for. So I was playing around with this last night, and why is this important? Well, you can actually
tell us why.
Yeah, I will do that.
Why indeed?
So there's another device called Moni, MONI.ai for artificial intelligence. And it's an interactive virtual assistant which allows you to perform different actions with the Internet of Things by simply asking Moni. Okay, so this is a device, or I can't even call it a device, but something that's going to be added to a lot of Internet of Things to understand speech. Okay. So your toaster, or I won't say your toaster, but let's talk about your refrigerator. So when you open up the refrigerator and you realize that you're low on milk, you can say, you can tell the refrigerator to remind you or add to your shopping list a gallon of milk.
Yeah.
Or carrots or whatever. And your refrigerator will actually recognize that through the Moni AI interface. And then if you use what's called IFFT, IFFT will take that and then transfer it to your to-do list or to your calendar or whatever. So a combination of a couple different things, and you can start making these great things, start working with each other through these things. And that's what's kind of cool about it. Another device called Amazon Echo. Are you familiar with the Echo at all?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so Echo is a device not unlike the size of this Diet Coke bottle that I'm showing people out in Blab right now. But if you're and it just, the second version of it just came out just in the last couple days, and it sits in the middle of your table or whatever. You just plug it in. connects to your Wi-Fi, and then you speak to it, kind of like Siri or whatever. So you can ask it to play some Glenn Frey. Yeah. Or you can ask it what the score is between, during the football games yesterday. Yeah. It will tell you this stuff. No computer attached. It will just go find that information. What's the weather outside like? And it'll tell you this. So it does all of this stuff. Well, then you can again use an IFT. You can tell this device to turn on the lights in the garage. And because you have now internet-connected lights, it will turn the lights on in the garage.
Very good.
So these are the things that are going to be possible. Actually, they're possible now, but will become more and more mainstream as we move forward. And I think you're going to see a lot more. Maybe some of these things I'm talking about aren't as practical as you think they might be, but I think 10 or 15 or 20 years from now, you and I are going to be very used to talking in a room, and things will just happen. Because Moni is built into so many different devices. I know you love the name, right?
I love the name.
But it'll be in so many different devices that it'll hear what you're saying and it will respond accordingly. So, what are your thoughts? Hi, Moni.
I can see Billy Idol making a ton of money endorsing this.
I can actually see this song as some type of marketing campaign, actually.
Now, I think Tommy James and the Shondells, I think Tommy James wrote the song.
He did, actually, and had the first version of it.
He'll get a piece of the action, too.
Yeah, isn't that something? I never thought about that. Yeah. So, kind of funny how those things all work out. And it's just a creative mind like yours, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
That brings that out.
Yeah, but I'm so smart. Why am I not rich?
You're working on it. You just got your degree. What are you talking about?
That's true.
It takes a few years after you get your degree to make a couple bucks.
I got my mastoid degree. I am now officially among the ranks of the overeducated.
And underemployed.
Something like that.
Are you ever going to have a job in the area that you have?
I got to call. There's a guy at the university. He's called a career counselor.
Okay.
His job is to talk to people like me who have a degree and have no idea what the hell to do with it, and to give us the obvious suggestions that we would probably come up with ourselves if we were willing to think about it for a little bit.
Okay.
I'm sure it's a great gig.
I'm sure it is.
But I'm supposed to talk. Hopefully, I can get up with him sometime this week. No, I'm interested. I don't know. Maybe teaching. Can you see me teaching?
I can
on a
see you
college
teaching,
level?
actually. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you have.
I'll keep my hand in radio.
Sure.
I don't want to get out of radio.
Sure.
But it'd be nice to have a little extra moolah coming in.
Sure. Well, a little extra gig here or there, to diversify your life a little bit.
I mean, I'm not exactly making Howard Stern money here. You know what I mean?
Someday.
Someday.
We'll get this show to take off a little farther, and you just never know. So on the connected home front now, what can you envision in a house that you would, if you could just say something, that it would just work? I mean, like start your car. Can you start my car now?
Well, since I'm up early in the morning, start my car, get the coffee going.
Okay.
Give me a nice, fresh, piping hot cup of coffee to sip on after I get out of the shower.
Sure.
Just step out of the shower, get dressed, grab my coffee, guzzle it down, and hit the road.
I'm thinking that all of these things are probably not that far off right now.
Good.
I mean, I think you can talk. There's a lot of key fobs now that you can just say, start my car.
How about a hot breakfast in the morning, made fresh? I mean, as opposed to you can make it the night before, and I guess zap it in the microwave in the morning.
But I suppose there are possibilities. Actually, when you think about the 3D printing of food,
right.
That would possibly be something that could come to light here in the next couple of years.
And
again,
we're thinking in terms of the Star Trek replicator.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he walks up to the thing and he goes, tea, Earl Grey, hot, and boom, there it is.
There it is. I don't know if you and I will ever see that in our lifetimes, but we are certainly getting to that point where things are being created.
Cream chip beef on toast. Boom.
It's there.
There it is. Give me a bagel. Boom. There you go. Some bagel.
The other thing that I've noticed, being at a lot of conventions and stuff now, people that are basically able to walk around convention floors and things like that choose not to now. Have you noticed this trend too? They got the little transports now that you can rent or use or whatever.
You mean they're staying in their rooms and doing everything from their rooms?
No. They're actually in chairs that are mobile and just rolling around out there. You
mean like those things that sometimes you see the old people riding around in?
Yes. Now I'm seeing 25-years running around in these things too on convention floors. And
my wife was using it when she had her knee surgery.
Okay.
a very legitimate thing, obviously.
Sure.
If she had to go to Walmart, she'd get one of them little rascal things and ride around on it.
But I see more and more people. So I'm only bringing this up because these things are all connected and you can rent them and all that other stuff.
The only thing is when they back up, they make this horrible squealing sound. It sounds like a small animal being tortured.
Yes.
I hate it.
Yes. All right, everybody. After the break, Miss Metaverse Katie Aquino will be joining us. We'll be going over social media tips and tricks. You'll want to stay tuned for that.
I believe Katie's on the phone right now.
All right.
Right now, 28.
Super Talk 1270, home of the Bismarck Bobcats and high school sports. Listen online or anywhere on the Radio Pup app. Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
Moni. The new AI interface in your toaster, Moni.ai.
Moni in your toaster, right.
Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Miss Metaverse Katie Aquino is joining us live from snowy New York. How you doing, Katie?
I'm doing well, Marla. How you doing?
Doing okay. Did you survive the snowstorm okay?
Oh, my goodness. It was crazy. Everyone's saying, oh, where have you been all last week? Where was I last week? This whole island was acting like it was Superstorm Sandy all over again. All the bread, milk, everything off the shelves. Oh, gee.
I even noticed that in one report I was looking at, they were going over the area where fruitcake is usually sold, and that was sold out as well. I thought it was pretty funny, actually. So yeah, did you get a lot of snow?
We got, it was over 2 feet.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it was just 0.1 degrees short of an all-time record, which is pretty amazing. And I heard Virginia got like 40 inches or more. That is unreal.
Yeah, it is. So, well, you guys keep it over that way. We've had a pretty light snowfall year so far over this way. So we're glad that we're sharing what we normally have here. So fantastic.
We're all or nothing over here. That's the one thing. But speaking of technology, we got a pretty cool new snowblower. We're pretty excited to be able to use it for once.
Really?
So that was cool.
So, I mean, are you talking, is there some new technology in this, or just the fact that you have a snowblower?
The fact that we have a snowblower.
Okay. Because we are actually, there's a couple companies in our neck of the woods here that are actually developing autonomous snowblowers.
Yes, I think we did talk about that a while ago, and that is really cool.
It is cool, actually. There's one that's called Thundar, based out of Fargo, North Dakota, and I believe it's still being developed at the university over there, NDSU. But it is interesting, and we were just talking earlier about the vacuum cleaner that I have, the robotic vacuum cleaner that's running around my house right now that I love, and I look at that thing and I'm like, why couldn't we just do this for snow?
Right, definitely.
So anyway, yeah, we're getting way off topic here, I know. So we're here to talk a little bit about social media today, and some of the tips and tricks that a person can use to maybe optimize your social media life, just make things a little bit easier. Maybe some things you didn't even know about. So, Katie, I'm just going to let you take it away, and I'm just going to kind of jump in where I see the opportunity.
Sure, definitely. Okay. Well, before I really went all in on my features and business, I was dabbling in startups, and I learned a lot about social media and content marketing and why it's important. And I have to say, I still do some freelancing on the side, and I help businesses and startups figure out why social media is so important and why a website and having a blog is important. So I think today what we're seeing is it's sort of like all these things are all together. They all make up who you are and what your brand is online. So content marketing is becoming more and more popular, and I think that it's good to know these little tricks and tips so you could help get your business out there and get more engagement from people online as well.
Sure, and as we're talking about this too, I know, and I'm going to be in this kind of the same realm with helping businesses, but you can utilize some of these tips and tricks for even the average person who doesn't have a business interest. For example, planning an event. I mean, there are so many people that are planning events using Facebook, for example, putting that event out there. It might be just a baby shower or a wedding or whatever. Everything we're going to be talking about can be utilized for these things as well.
Exactly. Okay, so speaking of Facebook, I think that maybe we should start with Facebook today. I mean, so there's a lot. I mean, when it comes to Facebook, originally, a long, long time ago, when you'd post something, you would assume that when you posted it, that everyone who was your friend would be able to see that post.
Right.
But that's long, long gone.
Yes.
And instead, there's something called organic posts and sponsored posts. Now, not a lot of people realize this, but in order to really get your post out there, especially when you have a Facebook page for your business, you have to sponsor the post. So you're actually paying for it. But there's ways around it, and which is really helpful to know. Originally, if you put a post up with a photo, you would think that photo post would be, higher on the ranks in terms of being able to be discovered organically online. Okay. But I found out that it's more likely if you have a post with a link and a nice photo that goes with that link, and that will help you boost your organic reach much further rather than just having a post with just a photo.
So is it true to say though that if you have a photo over just having a post that will actually go farther than just having some wording, or are they about the same?
Yes. So it says there was a study by Localwise, it said, and it said that the best way to make your post organically reach friends and followers is by posting links. And in that study, it said posts with links reached as high as 18% organic reach, while photos with just plain words and a photo only made 7% reach. So that's actually double as much if it has a link instead of just a photo.
That's interesting. So where do you link to? Let's say, if you're a business, that makes sense to have the link, right? But if you're just you and I posting something about the kids over the weekend making snowmen, for example, how do you achieve that organic reach a little bit farther by not having a link?
I guess that's a little bit hard to say. Well, if it's a personal thing, you might want to link to your maybe another social media page that you have or your blog that you have. That's definitely the best way to go around it. You don't always have to go to just a website or something like that. You can go around it by promoting your other social media pages.
That's a good idea.
It definitely helps to have that link in there because it's not just about copying and pasting a link. It's actually the different classes that the post is put under. So it's different if you choose share a photo. That's considered a photo share. But if you're sharing a link, that's considered a link share. So that's really the difference. And you could tell the difference by the way the photo is shown when it comes up in the post. If it's just a photo post, you'll see that it looks like the photo takes up half the post.
Okay.
But if it's a link, you'll see the link be the most part, and then the tiny little thumbnail be the photo.
Talk, Jim.
Oh, hi there. No, that was me. I hung up on myself. I disappeared briefly, but I'm back now.
I think we're back on there now.
Yeah, that was my doing.
Yeah, what we're talking about is the blab. We lost our audio for a second, so I had to run over there and click OK. We're just a two-man operation in here. So.
Nubbins.
Yeah. So what about longer posts then, Katie? So let's say I do something that's a couple sentences. Jim does something that's a couple paragraphs long, but we both have the same photo. What would have the better chance of going more viral?
It's always better to have more writing, and I'll tell you why. And when I was doing my research for today, I realized that nobody even touches upon this, which is kind of odd. But let's say you write this whole lengthy post versus just one simple paragraph about the same topic. The more that you write is the more opportunities that people will discover you through Facebook, because if you don't have to just use hashtags for your posts that come up in a search. So if you write a whole post about, let's say, why go grocery shopping, and you write all about grocery shopping tips and whatnot, right? People who are typing in grocery shopping tips will find your post because of all the keywords that you added into your post. So it's kind of like SEO also.
So content is still king even in Facebook.
Content is always king. And that's what people don't really understand. They think it's good enough just to have a website up today or just to put a couple of shared posts on their Facebook page and whatnot. but it's all about creating that content. You got to make your own content, and you got to put it out there. You have to have videos, images, everything, lengthy posts, and the more you make and the more quality, it's always going to be better.
So does Facebook have some type of algorithm that actually determines that you're an authority on certain topics and that it'll allow that post that you make to go to more people because of that?
I don't really know the specifics in terms of what the algorithm does take into account versus does not on that level, but I would agree with you saying that you will become more of an authority and you will have your post featured more, I would say, because of the engagement that you receive. So if people are respecting and you have sort of a following and you see that people are engaging with your posts, that will help you be, boosted in the results because people are liking what you're sharing or it's relevant to those kinds of topics as well.
So let's use your grocery store example. You're a grocery store that's using Facebook for whatever, and you start off and you're posting your weekly ads on there, your specials of the day or whatever. That's not necessarily the best way to use social media, is it?
Not really. The best way to use social media would be you're creating a culture. And that's the biggest thing is people kind of don't realize you're creating a world, you're creating a culture for your customers to connect with and choose you. Why choose Denny's versus, eating at your local diner or something? You're selling the culture of it, you're creating that culture online, you're creating your brand online. All that is one big picture made by the content that you're sharing, whether it be statistics that you share at a post on your page or photos that show a warm coffee cup. It's always something like that, and people connect with that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking even like recipes and, if you're, again, a grocery store, things that you can do that value add, that build authority. This is no different than if we were talking about WordPress or a blogger and talking about blogging. Those same tactics can be used in social media as well.
Right.
So, okay, what's your next little tip and trick? Or trick,
well,
I should say.
Speaking of Facebook, another thing that's really important is
actually, I'm going to stop you
right
there, Katie. Before we get into it, why don't we just go to break? And after the break, everybody, we will continue our conversation with this Miss Metaverse, Katie Aquino, and her 2 feet of snow. So come on back.
Right now, 28.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
Oh, it's hat day.
It is hat day. Everybody's wearing hats on Blab. Brian, I think, has changed 3 or 4 different times already. Generally, he's wearing a hat to complement the commercial that's streaming on there.
That looks like a fishing hat he's got on now.
Yeah, but he had some type of cowboy hat a little bit ago.
And a derby. He had a derby.
Derby.
A derby.
Fun.
It had kind of like a Stan Laurel type derby.
Yes. Actually, for Brian Reinbold, that's actually pretty appropriate. So anyway,
it certainly is.
We are visiting with Miss Metaverse, Katie Aquino, and talking a little bit about social media and how you can improve that experience. Katie, where did we leave off?
So we left off by talking about Facebook and why you should consider posting Facebook posts in a certain way so that you can increase your organic reach to your fans and followers, right?
Okay.
Now, I think what we should cover really quickly before moving on from Facebook is how to make the most out of your sponsored posts, meaning posts that you actually pay for, right?
Right. So why don't you explain that real quick before you get into what a sponsored post, how you can leverage that. People probably don't realize how that works.
I think a lot of people would take for granted that if they're paying for something that somehow automatically it's going to get better exposure.
Right. Not always the case, I don't think. But we'll find out. Tell us, Katie.
Yeah, so there's kind of an ongoing controversy surrounding this whole Facebook sponsored post thing. And not a lot of people understand whether it's worth doing it or how it works. And what's interesting about it is that right now, not all posts are seen. As we said before, that the algorithm will allow certain posts to be seen before others.
Yeah.
Now, it's made that way so that companies and businesses who want to have better exposure can pay for that exposure. They could pay to have their post seen before other posts that would have organically been seen, meaning a friend who was sharing a photo of their baby or something. Instead of that post being seen first on your news feed, maybe a company who had paid for a sponsored post will have their sponsored post seen before that organically shared post.
Yeah.
Okay. So I get with National Day Calendar, as you know, I have a little Facebook presence with National Day Calendar. And when we post something, if the day is popular, I'll get this little thing that says, do you want to boost your post? We see that it's performing 85% better than other posts. Why would I want to do that if it's already performing better than everybody else or than other posts that I've done?
Because that's going to help really expand your exposure. It's saying that, obviously on its own, this post is already doing quite well. So I think that if you pay a little bit more to have it be seen on the timelines or news feeds of people outside of your network and beyond, it'll help you, get more likes or get more engagement on that post.
Okay, and do you have, they a lot of times will have something on there about, add $20 to boost it to so many and $50 to add it, to boost even farther. Do you have a monetary value that you like to put on these things to make it reach farther, or what's your thought on that?
Well, you're right. I mean, the way it works now is that when you decide you want to sponsor a post, they'll show you how many people, by estimate, will actually see your post, depending on how much you spend. So if you spend $20,000, you could reach. I'm just throwing this out there. It could be something like 10,000 to 20,000 people, and that's how the more you pay, the more people you are able to have the post seen by. Now, that's also controversial in itself because some people, journalists were talking about, are those real people or is it worth it? So that's all debatable. But obviously it does work, and there's a lot of people who do find success from doing it. Now, what's very interesting, too, is that there's actually something very clever that I read about that I wanted to share today.
Okay.
And that if you can leverage the power of life events to help boost your marketing through Facebook. Have you ever heard of this?
I haven't. I'm all ears here.
Okay. It actually makes a lot of sense. So what people are doing, right, is that there's a lot of different parameters that you can use when you're targeting, your Facebook exposure and your sponsored posts. So when you're advertising through Facebook, you could choose a lot of different things, right? One of those is that you can search by life events. And what is brilliant about this is that, let's say, a wedding venue, right? A wedding venue wants to advertise on Facebook. What they could do is they would set their ads to appear to newly engaged couples after a period of, let's say 2 or 3 months after their engagement. While, baby clothing retailers could set their ads to appear to couples shortly right after announcing their pregnancy. So how cool is that?
That is pretty cool, actually.
So it's little things like that really help people kind of take their marketing and branding to the next level. You've got to think, what is available today? How can I utilize it to my business? Things like that are out there. You just have to do a little research and find what works for you and what works for your specific kind of business. Sure.
And the one thing with Facebook, of course, and Facebook advertising is that you can really, really drill down to the demographic that you're after. Like what you're talking about, where you don't get that with more traditional type of media, probably including radio, although radio is probably the best example of being able to drill down to a general audience. People who like to listen to talk shows like this, for example, will advertise on this. For people who like to listen to country western music, that might be a market for you to wear or to sell cowboy hats to. So that would be the market that you'd go after. Whereas like a newspaper or whatever, you're just basically going after everything. So you really have to be smart about what you do. And if you're building social media, Facebook really allows you to do that.
Yes, exactly. And another thing too, huge tip, you have to be aware of how much you're sharing. I mean, it's people will get turned away just because of the way that you share a post. And, right? Those are the biggest things.
Sure.
Don't overshare. That's
Sure.
a big no-no.
Okay. Well, we're, of course, running against the clock here, so do you have... Yeah, Jim.
Yeah, I was going to say, coming at it from the opposite perspective, somebody just posted this on the Blab page asking about whether it would be a good idea for Facebook to have the option for people who don't want to look at any ads to maybe be able to do so for a fee.
Oh.
Yes.
I know that's the total
I
opposite
mean, look
perspective
at Spotify.
here. Yeah.
Well, of course, you know, Facebook is looking for ways to monetize their platform, you know. So
yeah.
That might be an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Actually.
And again, I mentioned that somebody posted it as you can do if you're on Blab.
Right, right. So, Jim, you know, Katie and I are kind of on the other side of this because we always want to push our stuff. Would you pay to have no ads on Facebook?
I don't know that I would pay to have no ads. I mean, there are certain things I see that really annoy me, but the mechanism is already there to block certain things, like certain, I won't go into details, but certain political and religious things I really don't like to have to look at.
Sure.
But I already have the option of blocking them. If they're going to take away that option and make me pay for it, that might make me seriously reconsider whether I want to continue using Facebook.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting perspective. So, all right, moving on to other social media there, Katie.
Mm-hmm. So how about Twitter?
Okay.
Twitter's another really great one,
yes.
too.
Yes.
Yes. So did you know that recently Twitter has bumped up their direct messages? So now you can send up to 10,000 character direct messages to friends that or people that you're following on Twitter.
Oh, so that was the big hubbubaloo. I was wondering.
10,000.
Right, but only to direct messages. So if you're messaging me directly, Jim, I can write a letter to you, basically. But when you're tweeting to the general public, it's still 140 characters, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, and another thing, too, is I believe that they had changed it. Now you can direct message anyone, too. You don't have to be following each other as well, right? Or do you still have to follow each other?
I'm not sure about that, but I will investigate. In fact, I'll direct message somebody and see how that works out. I'll send a direct message to William Shatner and see if he'll respond.
Right, because it opens up so many doors.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize how that could benefit your business, but it truly can. Being able to just send up to 10,000 characters is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So do you use IFT at all?
No.
Okay, so there's a lot of recipes. You need to check this out, Katie. IFFFT.
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
If this, then that.
Yes, if this, then that. So, yeah, there's a lot of things in there. So, for example, when somebody likes me, I just started doing this at Guru of Geek. Somebody likes me, I just have IFT send them thank you right back saying, hey, thanks for liking me. I appreciate that, type of deal. So
you like me. You like me.
But, instead, because I used to do a lot of this stuff, all the time by myself, so I'm looking for ways to and with posts too, now I have the NASA feed coming into my Twitter account.
Yeah.
So those type of things are kind of cool.
Very cool. Love that.
So I would highly recommend. There's a lot of recipes in IFT to use with any social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Katie, I think we have to continue this conversation next week.
I think so.
All right. Thanks, Katie. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jim, as always.
By the way, Glengarry, West Virginia holds the record right now for the current storm.
Okay.
40.5 inches.
Wow.
That is subject to an update.
Wow. Brian Reinbold on Blab. Appreciate it as well, buddy. Appreciate you being in there. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week.